we need to talk about the hidden money traps that are almost perfectly designed to catch the middle class. And look, this isn't about some catastrophic mistake or a bad stock pick. It's about the completely normal, everyday decisions, the ones you're supposed to make.
Ever have one of those nights? You're lying there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, and you're running the numbers in your head, and they just don't add up? You did everything you were told to do. You went to school, you got the job, you even got the promotion. So why does it still feel like you're treading water, just hoping everything clears at the end of the month? Well, it's not a personal failure. It's because you're navigating a system of traps.
And this quote right here, this is the heart of it all. Wealth isn't usually lost in some big, dramatic explosion. For most people, it's a death by 1,000 cuts. It's a series of small, seemingly sensible, totally normal decisions that quietly bleed you dry. So let's break down the biggest ones.
So, where do we start? Well, we start with the big-ticket items. Think of these as the giant anchors chained to your financial ship. They create the most drag, and honestly, most of the time you don't even realize how much they're holding you back.
Okay, let's kick things off with the car. That beautiful, shiny new car in the driveway, I want you to really hear this number. The average monthly payment on a new car has now hit $772. And what's even crazier, 1 out of every 5 buyers is signing up for a payment of over $1,000 a month for an asset that literally loses value the second you drive it home. It's wild.
So right here, you hit a fork in the road. Path number 1 is the normal path. You're just always on this treadmill of car payments. You finish paying one off, you go get a new one, maybe you even roll what you still owe into the next loan. The other path? The wealth path? It's so much simpler. You buy a solid, reliable, used car you can actually afford, and then you take that difference, that's $700 a month, and you invest it.
And if you think, oh, it's just a car payment, what's the big deal? Well, you got to see this. This is the staggering cost of choosing the normal path. Over 30 years, that car payment doesn't just disappear. It costs you nearly $800,000 in lost growth. Let that sink in. That truck in the driveway? It isn't a personality, it's literally eating your retirement.
Now from the car, let's move on to the biggest purchase of all, the house. You get that pre-approval letter from the bank and it feels like you've won, right? It's like, yes, we can afford this. But hold on. We have to completely reframe what that letter means. Bank approval is not a green light for your budget, it's a risk calculation for theirs. It's the absolute max they think you can handle without instantly going broke. And trust me, those are two very, very different numbers. And here's exactly why that distinction is so crucial. You see the sticker price, right? Let's say it's a $2,900 mortgage payment. You plan your whole budget around that. But that's not the real cost, not even close. When you add in the stuff that pre-approval letter conveniently forgets to mention, property taxes, homeowner's insurance, and, oh yeah, the roof that's going to leak or the water heater that's going to break, you're easily looking at another $1,300 a month. All of a sudden, your affordable house is over 40% more expensive than you thought. Ouch. All right, so we've talked about the big anchors. Now let's get into something that might be even more sneaky, the slow leaks. These are the little drips, the recurring costs that you barely even notice until you realize you're completely underwater.
You'd think that making more money would solve all your financial stress, right? Once you hit that 6-figure salary, you're golden. Well, the data tells a totally different story. It's pretty shocking, but 36% of Americans earning over $100,000 a year are still living paycheck to paycheck. How is that even possible? Well, it's a sneaky little trap called lifestyle inflation. And here's exactly how it works. You finally get that raise you've been working for, and you think, I deserve this. So the apartment gets a little nicer, the car gets a little newer, the vacations get a little fancier. But what's really happening is your spending just swells up to swallow every new dollar you make. You end up on a much nicer looking hamster wheel, but you're still running in the exact same place.
Okay, here's a classic example of a slow leak. Quick, do a gut check. How much do you think you spend on subscriptions every month? The average person guesses about $86. Seems reasonable, right? But the actual audited number, $219. We're underestimating our own spending by more than double. And get this, almost half of us are paying for at least one subscription we've completely forgotten about.
And it's not just subscriptions, is it? It's the treat yourself coffee, the late-night Amazon purchase, the lunch you could have packed. It never feels like a big deal, but that nothing money adds up. The average person spends over $3,000 a year on impulse buys. Now, what if you invested that instead? Over 20 years, it becomes $130,000. These small leaks, they eventually become a flood.
So, we've covered the big expenses and the slow leaks. But what's really driving all of this? That brings us to part 3. Because this isn't just a math problem. It's a mindset problem. It's about the beliefs and the psychology that are running the show behind the scenes. I really want you to look closely at this because it shows the single most powerful force in all of finance: compounding. Check this out. If you start investing just $500 a month at age 25, you could easily have over $1.3 million by the time you're 65. But if you wait just 10 years and start at 35 with the exact same amount of money, you end up with less than half of that. Same money, same investment, just a decade of lost time. Let that number just sit there for a second. $700,000. That is the price tag on a 10-year delay. That's the cost of thinking, I'll get to it when I'm more settled. Our brains are wired to want rewards right now. But trust me, your future self is going to be furious about that delay.
So what does this all look like when you put it together in the real world? Well, let's meet the Garcias. They're a totally normal family doing everything right. A solid $110,000 income, 2 professionals. After taxes, they bring home about $6,800 a month. But then you add up all their normal fixed costs. The house the bank said they could afford, 2 car payments, student loans, daycare, and it comes out to $7,150. They're negative $350 before they've even bought groceries.
And this leads to a trap that is genuinely counterintuitive. It's called the 2-income trap. You'd think that having 2 incomes would make a family more financially secure, right? But fascinating research showed it actually makes them more likely to go bankrupt. Why? Because the family builds its entire financial structure around both of those paychecks. There's no wiggle room. There's no backup plan. So if one person loses their job, the whole house of cards just collapses.
And of course, there's the big one, the one we're all dealing with every day. You're scrolling through your phone, you're seeing everyone's perfect vacation, their kitchen remodel, their brand new car. And it's so easy to feel like you're falling behind. But you have to remember this. You are comparing your behind-the-scenes reality to their curated highlight reel. And that highlight reel, it's often financed by debt. They're not posting a screenshot of their credit card bill next to that beach photo.
Okay, so after hearing all of that, it can feel a little hopeless, but it's not. There is absolutely a way out. And that brings us to the alternative. It's about building freedom. It's about deciding, consciously, to play a completely different game.
If you only take away one single idea from our entire time together, please let it be this: normal is the trap. Right now, in our society, normal is living paycheck to paycheck. The people who break free, the people who actually build real wealth, they're not crypto geniuses or hedge fund managers. They're just regular people who are consistently and quietly refusing to do the normal things. They drive the boring cars so they can fund their future.
Because that's what this is all really about, isn't it? We get so focused on accumulating stuff, the bigger house, the fancier car, but the real goal of money isn't stuff. It's options. It's freedom. It is the ability to walk away from a job you hate, the freedom to spend your time how you want with the people you love. That is the only wealth that actually matters.
So I'll leave you with this question. Normal is the trap. The goal is to build options for your life. Looking at everything we've talked about, what's the very first trap you're going to escape? Don't try to fix everything at once. Just pick one. Just start there. Because that's where your entire story begins to change.